And then the 25% chance to actually gain 2,400, right? That is in A and D. Now, if you were to switch to B and C, then you have a 75% chance to lose 7,500 and a 25% chance to gain 2,500. Which one is better?
B and C.
B and C is definitely better. Most people won't switch. Most people, if given this more complicated frame, and we're using the word frame because it's a word used in psychology, won't bother to think far enough to realize that when these two choices would be combined, you'd actually be better off switching. Most people don't switch. It's the same example as with the 3 doors and a goat behind the 2 doors, right? So most people depend on how complicated the task is. Now think about how complicated tasks sometimes get in financial markets. You get these earnings announcements that you have to analyze, and you have to analyze them quickly because other people are analyzing them at exactly the same time. And you want to be the first one to trade on it. Oftentimes, you would not think far enough to make the right decision, just like you saw here in this little example. Here's another problem that shows you that people are often irrational. Here's a longer question. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished 1998, and I apologize for giving you a number from 10 years back. No one really has recomputed this, at least to my knowledge, since then. So in 1998, the Dow closed at 9181 points, right? Now, Dow Jones is a price index. In other words, it tracks how prices for its component stocks evolve, right? But prices is not the only way you make money from stocks. What's the other way you make money from holding stocks? Dividends. And that's something that Dow Jones does not track. So here's a question for you. Had Dow Jones actually been tracking dividends since 1896? What would its value have been in 1998? So I want you to do two things. Guess a number that you think the Dow would have been at, had they been also tracking dividends in addition to price appreciation. And then think of a range, high and low value, that would make you 90% sure that you're right about that number. Okay? So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to do that. You just guess, right? Because you have no idea what this would be, right? And then let's see what you guessed. So who thinks that the value of the Dow would have been lower than 9181? No. Who thinks it would have been higher? Who thinks, and let's keep our hands up until I say something that you actually didn't guess. Who thinks that the value of the Dow would have been higher than 10,000? How about 50,000? How about 100,000? How about 200,000? 3, 4, 5, 6. What did you guess, Jason?
I said 2 million.
2 million. Great. What did you say?
900,000.
900,000. Okay. The actual value, and once again, they only computed it once because it's just a theory. It's just a simple. It's just an exercise, right? No one really cares. The actual value would have been 652,230, so 6,652,230 instead of 9181. Did you notice how most of your hands went down as we were getting higher and higher and closer to the real answer? That's because our minds are work this way that we actually anchor our guesses to something we either know or see. You guys were seeing the green number 9881. So it was difficult for your minds to guess a very high number. Your minds automatically anchor you. This is our evolutionary survival mechanism, right? Our minds are used to not getting into trouble, because trouble usually means death. Well, at least back when our minds were evolving. And we are anchoring our decisions, especially when it comes to unexpected events or guesses like this one, to something we already know, something that we see. But that's far from being rational, right? Well, actually, this one isn't far from being rational because it's just the way it works. How about those ranges? When you were guessing ranges, who guessed a range wider than 100,000 points? In other words, your low was, the difference between your high and your low was more than 100,000 points. Great. Who thought it was greater than 500,000 points? Okay, so not a lot of you actually thought that you could be wrong, right? Because the wider the range, the less sure you are about your answer, right? And this is something you couldn't be sure about because you had no idea what this number should have been, right? The narrower your range, the more overconfident you were about your answer. Overconfidence is not rational. In this case, you actually should have guessed a range of millions, right? Well, that would probably have been the right thing to do, but you didn't. And most people don't. 90% of people don't guess very wide ranges. Most people are overconfident. That is not rational. Right? And once again, remember how our models think that everything is rational. The last one. This one's fun. Once again, for me. Here's a problem. This one is from probability. You've taken probability classes, right? Okay. So let's say I have two bags full of poker chips. One of them has 700 black chips and 300 red chips. The other one has 700 red chips and 300 black chips. And they look the same on the outside, so I have no idea which one is which. So I pick one of them. What's the likelihood that I picked the first bag, the bag that contains mostly black chips? That's an easy one, right? 50%, great. Let me make this a little bit more complicated. So I pick that one bag, open it, but don't look inside. I just open it and start randomly drawing chips out of it. And as I look at them, as I draw one by one, I look at them and put them back. And I draw 12 chips that way. And as I draw them and look at them and put them back, out of those 12 chips, 8 turn out to be black, 4 turn out to be red. Question. What's the likelihood that I'm holding that one now? So, give you a second to think about it, and now tell me, is the likelihood less than 50%? No. Is the likelihood still 50%? No. Is the likelihood somewhere between 50 and 60? Bob? No. Who thinks the likelihood is exactly 67%? Now, I'm not asking you to compute anything, right? Because this is too large of an equation to compute. So, well, I mean, never mind. Some of you are math teachers. So. Who has the highest guess here? Jason, what do you think?
I think 90.
90. Okay. Who thinks that it is higher than 90? Yes.
I think it's 96.
90.
We do have someone with a computer in there. Okay. That's wrong. But it's actually close, very close to 97% now, right? After having done what we just did, 12 chips, 8 of them black, 4 of them red, the likelihood that we're holding the first bag, the one that has more black than red in it, is actually almost 97%. How many people do you think are able to guess this outright? Not a lot. Guess how many people think that the likelihood after what we did, people who were surveyed on this, right? Experiments that were run on people asking this exact question. How many people do you think that after drawing those chips, the likelihood is still 50%? A lot. A lot of people don't react to this additional information the way they should. Because even if you don't know probability, you should probably guess that if the bag mostly delivers black chips, it's very likely to be the bag that has more black chips than red chips, right? But a lot of people think that that doesn't actually matter. A lot of people